chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to the
Good evening,
show.
Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
And all yes, happy Monday. Good morning, good evening, good night. Yes, wherever you're streaming us live from, it is good to be back with you here this evening. And like I said, happy Monday. I know a lot of you it takes a lot of energy to get back there. But guess what? It's the final home stretch before we say goodbye to pretty much the summer holidays. For some of those private schools, some of those kids are already back in school. And I'm hearing a little bit that traffic is about building slowly but surely. Well, you know what doesn't change? What doesn't change is that we're here Monday to Friday from 5 until 7 p.m. broadcasting from the beautiful Cayman Islands. And it's time for another episode of Sabrina Speaks. We're voices of the islands, conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration continues to take center stage. I'm your host for those of you just finding me and joining me probably for the first time. Yes, I'm Sabrina. And this evening, we are going to, of course, the summer edition open mic continues, but you know how it goes here. I still have to have things to talk about. And, we're going to take a deep breath together because I've been reading and seeing all of the comments over the weekend. And what I'm talking about is exactly what our show is about. We're going to take a deep breath together because our island has been feeling some impacts of some big shifts and even some unexpected stumbles in the systems that we are relying on every day. And I saw and I heard some of the comments made today on the cold hard truth as I listened in to Sandra earlier this morning. And yeah, it's almost feeling like a pressure cooker. But, you know, let's take it back a little bit. And we're going to also discussed from the new cell phone ban in public schools. You heard me. From the new cell phone bans in public schools to, yes, a defendant on bail leaving the island without the system catching it, to growing community concerns about the gaps in communication between our agencies. This is something that we have brought about here on the Sabrina Speaks platform before. And, you know, these aren't just headlines meant to scare us. They're signals that our policies are changing faster than our systems can even keep up, it would appear. And when that happens, we as Caymanians feel it. So today we're not pointing fingers. No. We're not even calling names. That's not what we're about. We're doing it, and we're doing it like how we always do it here on Sabrina Speaks. We're just breaking it down in plain language, and we're going to look at the bigger picture, and we're going to talk about it. These issues that affect our people, real families, and our lives as well. Because when policies shift and the systems even stumble, as we're seeing here again, the community deserves clarity. And this is what we're about here. Not confusion. It's about what we're providing. Yeah. So please be reminded here that the Sabrina Speaks Open Mic Summer Edition is always sponsored by and proudly sponsored by Bridgepoint Immigration Consulting. Yes, appointment only for professional guidance. Please give them a call or WhatsApp them. Feel free. 938-1337. And they are the bridge that helps you move confidently into the next chapter. Thank them for their sponsorship. Yes, yes, yes. Now also please be reminded that the views expressed by callers, guests, and online commenters are their own, not those of Bridge Media Limited, its affiliates, the Sabrina Speaks Show, or the host. This program is for general information only and not a substitute for legal, medical, financial, or professional advice. Now, all participants are reminded to speak responsibly and respectfully, and any content that is defamatory, discriminatory, unlawful, or harmful is strictly prohibited and definitely will not be tolerated. Listener participation implies acceptance of this disclaimer. Please continue to like, follow, share, yes, this link with your friends so they're never missing an episode and they will always be notified. Welcome, welcome, one and all. I see you, Connie Bonnie, keeping up with us at 11:06 over there in the United Kingdom. And yeah, your time is winding down. I know your heart is getting heavier day by day. I know it, I know it, I know it. It has to be. And I hope you see how quickly time flies, doesn't it? Now let's see what's going on with our weather. Compliments of our friends there at the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. Here's a look at this evening's weather forecast and a sneak peek into tomorrow. The synopsis is calling for moisture influx combined with a low-level trough that will support a few showers across the Cayman Islands this evening. Now, overnight, additional moisture from Cuba may sustain showers with an upper-level trough providing additional support for isolated thunderstorms. A tropical wave, however, is expected to move across the forecasted area on Tuesday, maintaining the potential for unsettled weather. Now, radar imagery shows a few isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving westward. The forecast for tonight, however, is calling for partly cloudy skies with cloudy spells and a 40% chance of showers and possible thunder. Temperatures will fall near the low 80s. Winds will be east to northeast 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. The forecast for tomorrow is calling for partly cloudy skies with cloudy spells and a 40% chance of showers and possible thunder. Temperatures will rise near the low 90s with a heat index of 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Now winds will be easterly 10 to 15 knots and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. There will be a high tide this evening at 8:12, a low tomorrow morning at 2:15 a.m., another high tide at 7:37 tomorrow morning. Sun will set this evening at 6:45 and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 6:09. Now the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions to linger through Wednesday as the tropical wave gradually moves away from the Cayman area. That wraps up our weather segment here this evening on the Sabrina Speaks show. And yes, it is that time where we take a look at what news is making our local, regional, and international headlines here this evening for sure. Just let me grab 2 images here so that I go as quickly as possible. Yes, welcome, welcome, one and all. If it's your first time, it's good to be here with you again for another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Let's take a look at what news is making local headlines here this evening. Starting with breaking news. Yes, we have breaking news reported here by CMR. Breaking news reported a Barracuda attack at Weston Beach. CMR has received reports of another suspected Barracuda attack at Weston Beach. Now, exclusive sources indicate a woman has reportedly lost a toe in the incident and an ambulance was dispatched to the scene within minutes. Now, details remain limited as this is a developing situation, and authorities have not yet issued an official statement. Members of the public, however, are being urged to exercise extreme caution when swimming or entering the water in the area. Now, CMR is working to gather additional information and will provide updates as they become available. Other local news making headlines this evening. Yes, the Cayman Islands welcome home Ryan Thompson. Yes, here in the Cayman Islands, we'll celebrate the homecoming of Caribbean Junior Cycling Champion Ryan Thompson tomorrow, Tuesday, August the 25th at 11 a.m. at Owen Roberts International Airport. Now, Ryan returns after proudly securing gold in the individual time trial, marking his third medal at the Caribbean Championships. Now, officials says his performance continues to highlight Cayman's growing presence in regional cycling, and the public is encouraged to come out and give this young champion a warm Caymanian welcome. Congratulations, Mr. Thompson, and looking forward to seeing more great things come out from you. We see where the Cayman Islands Birch Tree Hill Road will become a one-way northbound. Yes, National Roads Authority is advising motorists that a section of Birch Tree Hill Road in West Bay will shift from two-way traffic to a one-way northbound configuration. Now, the change taking place on Tuesday, the 1st of September this year, applies between Reverend Blackman Road and Stadium Drive. Officials says that the new layout is designed to improve roadway capacity, reduce conflicts between motorists and pedestrians, and enhance overall safety. Drivers are urged to exercise caution, follow posted signs, and observe speed limits as they adjust to the new traffic flow. Now, the Ministry of Planning and NRA thanks the public for their cooperation during this transition. The Cayman Islands Compass is reporting that CUC has secured the largest financing package in its history, totaling US $160 million to support major upgrades to Cayman's electricity system. Now, the utility received US $1 million in August, with another US $60 million to be released in May of 2027. The debt, locked in at interest rates between 6.09% and 6.34%, will repay short-term obligations and fund long-term infrastructure improvements. Now, analyst says Cayman's growing population and expanding economy will push peak demand from 129.5 megawatts in 2025 to 143 megawatts by 2030, requiring significant investment. CUC CFO Letitia Lawrence says that the financing provides stable capital for critical upgrades, supporting reliability, resilience, and future affordability for customers who will ultimately repay the loans through their bills. And in other local news, we see where CMR reports that the Cayman Islands Court of Appeals has refused the Crown's bid to retry Eric Brian Williams Soto for manslaughter in the fatal shooting of Harry Elliott during an attempted robbery in April of 2022. Now, Soto's manslaughter conviction was overturned last year after the court ruled the trial judge's direction to the jury made the verdict unsafe through his conviction for joint possession of an unlicensed firearm remains. Now, in its judgment delivered on August 18, 2026, the Court of Appeal found a retrial would be bounded to fail, noting there was no evidence capable of proving Soto knew the firearm used by the co-defendant Justin Kyle Jackson was loaded. The judges said that knowledge was a critical element of the case, and that the same evidential gap would persist at any retrial. Soto remains convicted of the firearm offense, but will not face a second trial for manslaughter. We now take and turn our attention over to regional and international news this evening. The government of Bermuda announced today that the island has formally joined the Global Energy Efficiency Alliance, expanding access to international expertise, technical support, and partnership to advance in its energy transition. Now, the alliance brings together more than 20 countries and over 50 strategic partners focused on improving energy efficiency through cooperation and practical initiatives. Now, official says Bermuda's membership supports the National Electricity Sector Policy 2026 and the global of building an electricity system that is affordable, reliable, resilient, sustainable, and also equitable. And out of Jamaica this evening, we see where Jamaica continues to hold a well-known record for having the most churches per square mile anywhere in the world. According to data from the National Library of Jamaica, the island averages roughly 2.75% churches per square mile, with more than 1,600 registered places of worship nationwide. Now, researchers says that the figures reflect Jamaica's deep religious heritage and the central role faith communities play in social life across that country. We see over in the U.S. Virgin Islands, drought disaster has been declared because the United States government has declared a drought disaster in the U.S. Virgin Islands as severe dry conditions continues across the territory. St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix are all experiencing extreme drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, with no immediate relief expected. Now, the declaration issued on Thursday opens the door for farmers and agricultural producers to apply for federal emergency loans to help offset losses caused by the prolonged dry spells. And out of Financial Times, we see where, one second, let me grab this image here. I am producing, there we go, got it. Thank you for your patience. We see, as reported by the Financial Times here this evening, yes, global shipping leaders are warning that long-standing exemption for small lithium-ion batteries is creating dangerous blind spots on board commercial vessels. Now, under current rules, thousands of undeclared batteries can be packed into a single container, leaving crews unaware of the cumulative fire risk. Now, industry group says that this loophole has already contributed to serious container fires and are urging regulators to tighten declaration requirements to ensure vessels, ports, and emergency responders have the information needed to manage the growing hazard. Over in Singapore today, we see where their new incentives to boost the birth rate, because Singapore has announced a major package of incentives to encourage families to have more children, offering parents more than $55,000 per child as the state confronts a sharply falling birth rate. Now, officials says Singapore is now one of the fastest aging countries in the world, with long-term demographic trends threatening future workforce and economic stability. The expanded benefits, which includes cash grants, parental support measures, and housing incentives aimed at easing the financial pressures of raising a family while strengthening the country's long-term population outlook. And yes, it's that time of the year as we wind up this section of Sabrina Speaks. We're talking about the 100th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Yes, New York City is preparing for a major milestone this Thanksgiving as the nation marks the 100th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on Thursday, November 26. Now, millions are expected to line the streets for the centennial celebration, featuring giant balloons, spectacular floats, and marching bands, and even more live performance. Now, city officials says the parade's 100th year legacy reflects the spirit of New York and its enduring place in American holiday tradition. So for all of you who pretty much spend your day watching that, whether or not you're at home or work or wherever you are, you still find the time. This one plans to be a big one. I say welcome, welcome, one and all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks right here. We did not do the business markets closing for today, but we'll definitely have that for you tomorrow. But it's good to be back here with you on this Monday, August 24th, as we're winding down the end of this month. Oh my gosh. And things are definitely tightening up as you prepare your little ones to go back to school. And maybe those for the first time, or you may be, again, as I said on Friday, one of those parents that are accompanying your kids off to college or university. This probably is the first time they're leaving home. Yeah, but that definitely is a reality that they're growing up and they're moving on, embarking on a new chapter, but bringing it right back here for home. It's not just preparing the loved ones for school. It's preparing for traffic. Roadworks are in the making. And I know I got some comments that came to me over the weekend. Sabrina, did I hear you right? Is there going to be works going on in the Eastern District? Yep, but you were not hearing me wrong. Why the heck isn't this done during the holidays? Well, you know what? At some point, the minister will be on a CMR platform and you can ask those questions there and then. A lot of times it has to do with scheduling of works, access to funding as well. But you know what? Let's have them break that down. But yes, just prepare for what is to come. Yes, school is starting. Traffic is going to be increasing. Roadworks continue. But yeah, now we're going to be seeing some roadworks happening in the Eastern District, and you're already pulling your hair out of your head because the extension of that east-west arterial is still lagging behind for whatever reason. But you know what? Just take it with a grain of salt. Be thankful we're alive. We're still blessed to be living in one of the most peaceful places in the world. We just have so much to be thankful for. But yes, I want to take this opportunity as we take a sneak peek. Yes, what I'm talking about is to wish all of those persons who are celebrating birthdays, happy birthdays. Happy birthday to you. If you've celebrated them over the weekend, maybe today is your big day. Happy birthday to you. Wishing you many, many more and looking out for more blessings to you always. Yes. And for those who are celebrating anniversaries as well, the same. We are going to do the same for you. We're taking this opportunity to wish you all of the best. Now, we know that there are also those amongst us who are mourning the loss of a loved one. Yes, our thoughts and prayers go out to you as you navigate this time together. It's a new chapter, and we know how losing the loved one can be something. Sometimes words cannot even describe it, but we just want you to know that our thoughts and prayers go out to you. And I want to take this opportunity. I saw this just moments ago that the National Gallery community is mourning the passing of Miss Margaret Barwick, who is a pioneer figure in the Cayman Islands visual arts, whose remarkable creative life spanned art, horticulture, and design. Now, Barwick, who arrived here in the Cayman Islands in 1977, helped establish the island's first formal art collective and later led the Cayman's contingent to Cara Festa back in 1981. Now, she played a central role in designing the Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Park and authored the internationally recognized tropical and subtropical trees in 2004. Now, her work has been exhibited across the world, with several pieces held in trust in the National Gallery collection, and Barwick's legacy, rooted in creativity, innovation, and deep dedication to these islands, continues to shape Cayman's culture and horticulture landscape. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the late Miss Barwick, and I'm quite sure we will know more of any memorial services or anything that comes about in regards to that as we become aware of it. But yes, by extension, like I said, our thoughts and prayers go out to all of those who are mourning the loss of a loved one. Let's turn our attention over to what catch my reminder from community service, community announcement. Again, it's that time where you nominate an older person, and it's Older Persons Month Ambassador is coming up, and you want to log on to www.dcfs.gov to nominate somebody if you feel they are worthy of this nomination. So it is that time of the year, and you just go on there. The application forms are there as well for you to be abreast of that. I see you, North Carolina love. And the National Trust again. Bat count Cayman. This is your time to win some cool prizes. That is on the 28th of August, 4 p.m. These will be announced, and it's your time to participate if you want to go out there and count bats. If that's your thing, count bats. We probably need a barracuda biting thing or whatever, counting initiative with whatever is happening. But look, there are great prizes to be won here. There's sunset sales for 2. There's Foster's gift cards as well. And there's 6 $50 gift cards from Kirk's. There's also some stuff cost you less, and only one more week to count. So yes, every 3 counts submitted equals to an entry. So the more you count, the more entries you will be allowed to get the chance to win one of these prizes, which I'm quite sure all of us would be happy to get any one of those right now. Yes, like I said, Connie Bonnie is in the house today. Content creators in Bloom. Damien is here. How you doing? Yes. She's agreeing. Her time is flying by so quickly over there with that little bundle of joy, her grandbaby spoiling that baby rotten. Do it and run. That's what you do. Damien Henry is weighing in, and he's saying, oh, Damien, how are you? He's saying, happy Monday all. Not everyone will understand your choices, and they don't have to. Your responsibility is to live a life that feels true to you, not to seek approval or validation from anyone around you. People have different options, but their understanding isn't necessary for your happiness. Stay true to your values and trust your path. Well said, Damien. Thank you so much for sharing that. Miss Barbara is in the house this evening. Hi, you my sweet. Hope you had a relaxing weekend and you enjoyed it and you're looking forward to this new week. Yes, good evening to you, Carolina love, North Carolina love. Marshall is with us today. And like I said, the phone lines will be open, they are open. 936-8255 is the number to join, give your opinion, or you can comment below. That's fine as well. You can also send me a WhatsApp if you care to, you want to remain anonymous. We will take your WhatsApp messages as well. I do my best to get at least to all of the messages and comments to be a part of the discussion so that I don't feel so lonely, even though I know I'm not lonely, and that I'm not alone because you all are here. But it's so much better when I get your engagement, get your participation, because sometimes I'm wondering, they listening that hard, that intently, or am I just blowing their socks off with some of the information that I'm sharing? Sometimes I wonder. Anyhow, based on the feedback that I continue to get, please, it does make a world of a difference. Thank you so much that you're being informed, that I'm definitely educating you, bringing to your awareness a lot of stuff, and just taking the time to just break a lot of this down. I know it can be overwhelming at times, but how are we going to get there? But yes, this evening is no different. We got 2 topics that I want to bring up with you that happened on Friday. Yes, because what I'm talking about, I'm going to dive into one of the most significant education policy shifts that have been announced in this era of cell phones. Yes, that's what I'm going to be talking about in this segment. And you can weigh in. What are your thoughts on it? Have you now started panicking? What are you young people talking about? I got some comparisons as well that I'll be looking at geographically. Not to say that we're comparing ourselves with anywhere else, but to let you know that, hey, we're not the only one that has done this. Now, only time will tell, right? But hey, let's get your view on it. Let's talk about together. And what I'm talking about is the Honorable Ralston Anglin, Minister of Education Services, He has announced a complete ban on mobile phones across all government school premises. Now, this decision, and I've seen some comments, I've heard a few as well while I was out and about this weekend, has sparked conversations not only amongst parents, but also some teachers and students. And it's not all bad, to be honest with you, but it has actually sparked conversations. We were hinted at this earlier on in the year, and now it's been announced that this is going to be a ban. And I'm gonna do my best to break it down based on what I understood from the policy. And of course, I'm quite sure in time the honorable minister or representatives from the Ministry or Education themselves will be on the platform, and they will break it down even a little bit more. But it is my intention this evening to break it down with a little bit more clarity and community focused perspective. And of course, you're always willing to share your perspective. It's not my opinion. I'm just sharing with you what is already in the public's domain. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, there will be an opportunity for you to weigh in on this, of course. We know how addicted we are to our cell phones. It's like you can barely keep it out of your hand. How much people have fallen down, how much people have pretty much walked out into the roads totally unaware. Everything is happening around them. When you're out in public spaces, that sort of stuff, you're just totally just glued to these smart devices. Now, what do you think that's happening in the school? Give me your comments. What do you think about it? Do you think it's just too harsh? You think, that we've gotten so attached to these phones that this total ban may actually cause some problems? Well, we don't know. That's why we're talking about it. But guess what? I trust the honorable minister along with his support team based on recommendations, looking at it, taking feedback from incidents that have happened, including students, faculty, teachers, and looking further afield as well in order to come to this decision. They must be satisfied. Now, of course, your feedback is always key, but I'm going to do my best here to break it down based on what I've been seeing and, of course, some of the conversations that have ensued just over the weekend as well. Now, like I said, what the policy says, and this is what I just found, okay, so please bear with me. The minister himself has announced that there's been, as I said at the opening, a total ban on students using personal mobile phones anywhere on government school property. That means no phones in classrooms, no phones during break or lunch, and no phones on the compound, period. That's what we're getting from this. Now, this is announced. Of course, this will become more topical as the days grow closer to school. Maybe after school is open, you will hear some more pushback or support. Whatever it is, you're going to hear some more about it. Now, the goal is simple: reduce distraction, improve focus, and restore the learning environment to what it should be, okay? A place where our students are present, engaged, and protected also from digital noise. And that's one of those distractions that obviously, based on what research, what findings, what report, what feedback they have been receiving, has led to this total ban. Now, this also aligns with the global trends. Yeah, because where countries are seeing themselves tightening school devices and making rules to address attention issues and also cyberbullying and classroom disruptions. So it's just not limited here. We're seeing it further afield and in other jurisdictions. Some of you may say, here she goes again, comparing us with other places. We're different. Oh, no, not really. Not really. Not really. So at the end of the day, when you look at the comparisons with other jurisdiction, right? We can dig into that a little bit more, and I can tell you what countries, but I'll come back to that have actually done this very same thing. But to get to the crooks and the crannies of it, why it matters and the minister's rationale behind it, and what I've found is that in his delivery, he highlighted several concerns, as I alluded to earlier. Academic focus. And guess where he's getting this information from? Teachers report that phones are one of the biggest classroom disruptions, despite them, of course, before this ban, you could have them, but you couldn't use them during certain times, right? There's also noticed that there are social pressures. The constant messaging, group chats, and social media creates obvious anxiety and distraction. Remember the days where you used to text, and if you had one of the old Blackberries, you could see that, I think it was a green light, and you knew when there was a message. And every time you would look, if your phone was nearby and you didn't see the message, because those days, it's not like you have to pop up message on your screen. It was a little bit more antiquated back then. But you knew that there was a message, either a text or whatever was there. And that little green light kept blinking and blinking and blinking until you open it. Then it stopped until another message coming. It's the same thing. Social pressure, this urge to constantly picking up your device, right? And also there was a safety concern as well. There's recording of events that are on the school, posting and sharing viral videos. School environments have led then to conflicts and even in many cases, privacy breaches. Yes, I said it, privacy breaches. And there's also equity as well, the rationale behind it. Not all students have devices. And what we're seeing here is that not having or being able to afford these phones, they can widen social divides. Remember, even though a school environment comes with its own set of restrictions that's preparing our young men and women for the world out there, it is a reality that there's going to be social divides, but not when it's mounted, even though it's reality out here. Do you need that in that confined space at this time? Obviously, it was tried without a total ban, and it's failed because many of you have seen these posts, these viral videos of fights and altercations and you name it, different dance moves, that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's the era, it's the generation. But I can see where the minister is going with this, wanting it to go back to an environment where it is more education and not the likes and the followers and who can make the most viral video, Okay, there's a time and place for that. Bottom line is what I'm getting. Now, another thing that came up is emergencies and communications. Well, how the heck are parents going to reach their children? Let's talk about that just for a bit, right? A key part of this announcement that was made by the Honorable Minister is that if parents need to contact their children during school hours, all communications must go now through the school's main administrative office, right? This will ensure that messages, 1, are delivered safely, and 2, that students aren't interrupted mid-lesson. And staff then can respond appropriately in urgent situations, right? It also then reinforces that schools remain responsible for students' welfare during the school day. And I thought that that was so profound because it creates this type of independence where this handheld device, a phone, yes, as important as it is, right? Not having that filter through process to let you know where the boundaries lie, it was amazing. That has caused that independence, that divide between who's responsible, who's in charge in the environment versus this device that still give you access outside the world. In understanding, it does have, I can see both sides of importance. Don't get me wrong. But with this type of boundaries that obviously has been exploited, not respected, it reinforces the school's main responsibility. They're responsible for students' welfare during the school day. So at the end of the day, there has to be other communication options, but the bursar's office, the office, now what needs to build security and trust of the system is that those calls now are not like some of the experiences people are complaining about when you call various government agencies and it's just a machine. Now, these are children. This is in a school. And if you want the parents and guardians to trust, okay, we respect you putting in this ban. We have heard your reasons. We've heard your rationale behind it. We support you. But when I call, should there be an issue, make sure the phone calls are answered in a timely manner and that I'm not felt like I'm waiting or you're hearing beautiful background elevator music being played and there is an emergency. Outside of that, I can assure you what's going to happen. I'm going to be on the phone, not me. Parents going to find themselves on the phone, cursing, ranting, raving, whatever the case it is, comes up there, can't get through, and then guess what? So my advice is make sure that phones are answered accordingly and in timely manner to prove and to actually build the trust of it. But to say overall support that it's not needed, I'd be lying. Yeah, it really has gotten out of hand, but make sure now that you put the necessary things in place so that people will see, yes, the phones are answered in a prompt time and, the messages are getting across because it could go one way or the other very quickly. And we don't want that happening either. Now, there are pros and cons about this ban because there are some positive things about it because it's proven. Concentration, improved concentration. Students stay present in the class. They're not distracted. For the first couple of weeks, this not gonna work, we not go phone. How this could work? Some may be upset about it, but in time, once you see that it's working, what's wrong with not having a device for a couple hours? Yeah, more education, more face-to-face contact with your friends and communicate with each other like we used to do back in the day. There's also another positive side to this because reduced cyberbullying. We saw where there's been a serious uptick in cyberbullying and with access to these smart devices, access to the internet pretty much all the time, we saw where that has increased. So another advantage is less access to apps during school hours, not to say that it can't happen afterwards, but at least during that time, that is a reduction right there. Like I alluded to, better social interaction. Students goes back to know what it is talking to each other face to face. And guess what? Teachers too. Another pros of this is that teachers regain control of the learning environment a little bit more without those distractions. Now, if there's a teacher or somebody who's been in education that can actually weigh in on this, like what did they see change versus the days when there were no smartphones in school, students, us, my days, what have they changed? What have they seen in the environment that has changed? If you're feeling free to comment, or of course, we welcome you to call in. It would be quite interesting to do a comparison of the days when there were no cell phones allowed in school because they just didn't exist. It was only for adults at that time versus now where it's a dime a dozen. You can get the little pocket ones. You can get those burner ones. And are we now going to be doing spot checks with this ban for these devices? Because we know you can get them so tiny. So interesting to see how it's going to unfold. But another advantage to this is that they're saying it is enhanced safety. No unauthorized recordings or sharing. Yeah. So, of course, there's an up and down side to everything. And in me preparing this, and I'll get to some of your comments in a second, not everyone agrees with the ban. We're seeing that. We're hearing it. Not everyone agrees with the ban. And it's important to acknowledge the concerns that some of them are actually growing up. One of the things is, again, improved answering of the phones, communication. Parents, students alike must feel like, look, okay, I don't have a device. I don't have any way to get outside. Now, everything has to be funneled through the admin office, which is the right thing to do. Please don't get me wrong. But parents now can get worried during emergencies. Students themselves may feel disconnected. And some rely on these phones for after-school coordination. Yeah. and concerns about even enforcement and fairness and potential of confiscation disputes as well. So these concerns are valid. And trust me, from what I'm seeing, I'm quite sure in its totality, the ministry will need strong communication and clear guidelines and constant enforcement for this, because you don't want it where it only applies for some, but they're still getting away. Like accountability, enforcement, there's no sense of putting these rules if it's still being broken. Now, some of you were asking what countries that we're seeing this, but before I go into that, let me just make sure I don't miss any of the comments here. And I thank you for contributing and weighing in on this. I want you all to be a part of this discussion. I would like to get your opinions on it, because I'm just doing it from a research perspective and just dissecting the announcement. And there were other things as well, but this has caught the attention of many. Hence, I'm taking the time to bring it to you today here on the Sabrina Speaks show. Now, Pat Chisholm 5543 says, as a parent of older children, I totally agree. Thumbs up. It's about time. In the classroom for learning and not searching the internet. You have a lot of people agreeing with you, Ms. Chisholm. I can assure you that. Andrew is saying, hi, blessed Monday to you as well. Good to have you here with us. Cameron is weighing in as well, and he's saying, we as adults face distractions every day, knowing damn well there's something happening behind the scenes. Yes, but looking at it from the educational environment, I'm quite sure a lot of parents are actually agreeing with Miss Pat, and you're going to have some that's saying, oh, no, not my child. Know something on how to give. So you got it. Ooh, it's going to be interesting, though. Let's see. But it's a rule. So we got to we have to honor this. Cameron also weighs in and saying, did I say that? I'm repeating myself here. Don, sorry, is saying, hey, Donnie, Green Valley Nurseries there. That's okay. That's fine. That's all right. You're fine. You're fine. You are fine today, my love. Cameron is saying, why do we give in to the nonsense and mix up as adults, but we never try to address reality within ourselves? Good question. Good question. Maturity, ego, open-mindedness, education, ability to see both sides. And I'll leave it there. And it's a different time that we're in right now, Cameron, because some of the things that our young people, our young adults are now saying, exposed to, I'm not sure how old you are, but during my time, being born in 74, 52, I would never have dreamt of doing some of the things that I'm seeing that is happening. And we just weren't exposed to certain things. So it's a different era for these young adults and middle school and high school, even primary school. You're seeing those kids now are so mature that, very interesting times that we're living in. And we're going to have to do things that are not going to be popular for the safety of the wider good, for the larger community. And I think this is one of those times that we're going to be testing this to see how it all plays out. Popularity contest is a question Cameron is asking. That certainly sounds familiar. And Pat Chisholm is reinforced. I totally agree with the minister. She's reinforcing that she's totally agree with the minister. And Cameron says parents should really have responsibility for their children. Parents should really have responsibility for their children in school. Government has a different law, and we have different law at home. They're minors. So, okay. Parents shouldn't. Is that what you mean, Cameron? Shouldn't. Parents shouldn't really have responsibility for their children in school. Government has a different law, and we have different law at home. They're minors, ! City asked down is homeless and can pass through the classroom. Oh God, you're just trouble today. Put body cameras on faculty then is what he's suggesting. Cameras in every classroom and students' paces. Andrew is also weighing in. Whilst children are in school, their phones should be in a class locker until the end. In case of emergency, the school administration should be contacted first and then conveyed to the class teacher. Structure has gone from our schools. That's Andrew weighing in, and he further comments by saying, we're seeing fights between children at school being video and broadcast on their cell phones. And cyberbullying is global pandemic that exists in Cayman Islands. So, well, I'm glad that you say that in a sense where Cameron was, I think you're trying to, if there's bullying taking place, my child gone record it. Oh, okay. When we look then at where it has actually implemented this in the world, it's not unique here. No. And yeah, you may say, well, we're a small island development state. We're an island in the Caribbean. We're the Cayman Islands. Why compare us to these countries? It's a good sampling, to be honest. It's a good sampling. But when I dug into this a little bit more and I went a little deeper, what countries are doing, we find that countries like France, Australia, China, and even parts of the United Kingdom have implemented similar bans. And results shows after implementation of these bans, right, that there has been higher classroom engagement. There's been lower bullying incidents as well. And there has also been proven that academic performance has improved tremendously in some regions. Now, what we're finding is that here in the Cayman Islands is aligning with global best practices while we're actually still tailoring it, this policy that meets local needs. So at the end of the day, it's not like it has been looked at in isolation. You can see where we're aligning with global best practices. Here we're seeing it in the schools with this band, and we're also seeing those best practices in other sectors as well. So at the end of the day, when we look at this whole impact and the benefits, the pros and cons of this, the biggest shift we will see is students' attention, because it is envisaged that when phones then are removed completely, when they disappear, it is envisaged that teachers will see more eye contact, more participation in the schools, more consistent focus on their lessons, and fewer interruptions from, God forbid, if they're on, which they shouldn't have been on anyhow, but not every student is going to follow the rules. That's just life. We are grown adults, and not all of us follow the rules. It is what it is. That's humans' nature, right? Group chats and all that sort of stuff, and just social media as a whole. And then it has been found that these phones compete with their attention every few minutes, and in some cases, seconds. So removing them from the schools, from the classrooms, banning them, which is the policy that has been implemented, restores that classroom as a learning first space. Learning comes first, right? There's also been mental health and social pressures has been proven to be improved. And what they have found is that these phones amplify social comparisons, body imaging pressures. Yes, the fear of just missing out on everything, and online drama spilling into school, and constant messaging anxiety. How many of you pick up your phones and you just use your side eye and see exactly who's messaging you, and your heart flips a beat because you're preempting what the message may come on the end? Yeah. So school phones bans reduces all of these pressures during the day and gives the students that mental break from digital noise. Yeah. They've also seen where there's better interaction and social skills. Yeah. Because teachers worldwide now are reporting when phones are banned, they've seen an increase in children talking to each other more. And also friendships strengthen, and group work becomes much easier, and break times become more active and social. So let's see what happens, because schools becoming communities again and not silent rooms full of students staring at their screens, getting crook neck and carpal tunnel. So I'm excited to see the outcomes of this. And if it's anything like some of the results that we're receiving this year, if academic performance improves because of this, yes, yes. The studies do compare that countries that implement bans, such as France, Australia, and China, saw higher test scores. Yeah. Better lessons retention as well, and more consistent homework completion. Now, that means it must be, there's some things going on at home as well that parents are in support of this. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting. But the safety part is where a lot of people are concerned. Yeah. Because they look at it as a risk, as a safety risk. Recording teachers, filming students, posting school incidents online, they go viral. Location and tracking as well, and unauthorized communication, even during emergencies. It can cause some serious misinformation and just additional havoc. So what they're seeing now is that bans protects the student privacies, teachers' dignity, and school security from a bigger thing. Now, hello, I am going here because of what we have seen, right? When parents call the main office, the school can respond appropriately. I said that. But they got to make sure that they implement a system that is working and that people can actually feel as though they can trust it. Yeah. So Cameron is saying, what are you up to now? That's because parents prefer to let the internet raise their children rather than human engagement. But isn't that a normal thing right now? How much people just throw a smart device into young children's hands and just let that do the raising? I mean, you want to occupy a kid, you just give them your phone, you put it, all depends on the age, and you put it on something on Netflix or stuff that just keeps the child occupied. And then what? Yeah. Isn't that the way of the world now, though? Damian Henry says, leave smartphones at home and bring back a basic phone to school that they can only make calls and send text messages. Well, there you go. That's a suggestion. Oh, Lord, here we go again with mental health. But it does have an impact, Cameron. It does have an impact, whether or not you disagree. If you look at the impact of digital, social media, the impacts of just screen time, and of course, it does have mental impact on people. You know how much people just live for the likes, live for the followers, and who will just be just totally drained, just done by constant negative feedback on their social media platforms. Understanding how quickly something can go viral nowadays, Cameron. Do you know what that is like when you're the constant focus of attention and it's nothing good? You got to be very strong. And especially if you're in a small island jurisdiction where everyone knows everyone, it can mess you up from going to the store, want to be seen in public, to getting a job, to even making an honest living. So if you think this platform, like others, social media, things going viral, and with all of the AI things now that they can just get your voice, they can learn your patterns, and something goes viral saying, that's what Sabrina said. It's up to me now to prove that it wasn't me. Do you know what mental anguish that can be? Now, flip it on the other side with cyberbullying. Yeah. So, do you think it's bull? You haven't been on the receiving end. Live Happy is saying, if my phone don't ring, I don't look at it. Let me tell you something. I could be honest with you. In the public space and being in the position that I previously held, the phones never stopped. in meetings, no matter what you were doing. You could be delivering a speech in Parliament, despite you have your assistants and all this sort of stuff. And do not misread this. This is not a complaint. But I can assure you the phones do not stop. The WhatsApp messages don't stop. You can clear them literally every 20 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes. And I can assure you, in less than no time, you have at least 15 to 20 messages. Yeah, that is not a complaint. And how it is right now with accessibility, you don't answer in a certain time, it can go disastrous with no understanding that you are either occupied doing something within the ministry, doing something else, or you're in a position where you just can't get to your phone. But this is why assistants help. Robotic. This is not making an excuse. So this thing of being fascinated, and if you're not having a structured system where you have that support, that help, and you have some people that, look, they want their representative. They don't want an assistant. They don't want anybody else other than that person. They don't care what time of the night it is either. They want you to answer there and then. It can be really, really put on a lot of pressure. And it comes with the territory, but you talk about balance, that too is also needed. Barbara G is saying, what sort of parent would not want to speak with an adult who could be there for their child before giving the child bad news? Emergencies should not be the reason for phones. Good point. You would be surprised. Cameron says, teach your children to know right from wrong and know their rights. That is also a part of the bigger picture. But if they would just obey the rules, maybe we wouldn't have had to do a ban. Andrew weighs in and says, question, Sabrina. How many of us Caymanian families have a traditional Sunday dinner where all family members gathered and bless the dinner with prayer and put away all cell phone and devices and actually have a constructive conversation with your family and catch up with what is happening in each other's lives? Perfect question. You are quite right. And it do even have to be on Sunday, but I get exactly what you mean, traditional Sunday dinner. With the way right now that people are having to work double, triple, quadruple to just keep the lights on and food on the table, this, in many occasions, is just a dream. Even for long weekends, maybe the first time families have gotten together in a while besides Easter or funeral or a wedding or something like that, right? Was during Easter. That was the last time, or they were on vacation if they could afford it. It is times like these that this tradition that you're alluding to, on Andrew, is sometimes the only time. And if there is a family member who is, let's say, work shift or in an industry where you don't have that traditional work week, maybe they can't even tell the last time they did this. Our society, this culture that you're describing, has so long gone and continues to be eroded because of things and times have changed. Society has changed. Survival is now a priority because it's almost as though even when you get your time, you just want to just veg out on the couch. Sitting at the table, you bless your food. Yeah, that is a tradition that has instilled in me. I bless my food. But this, you can't think. You cook your Sunday dinner and pretty much everybody has their own plans. Oh, this one going for brunch, that one going for this going. It's almost like you have to rein them in, like you herd, like herding cows. Some families are like that. Now, age depends, but I'm quite sure A few families, with the exceptions of Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthday, or some celebration, that may be the only time. But traditionally, it will be interesting that that has just faded away. And even with family gatherings, which we try to come together, potlucks as a family, we're a unique family like that. We try to get together as often as we can at somebody's house. And even though there are times phones are put down, I must say, I must applaud my family for that. The kids, based on their age group, who wouldn't be doing their own thing, there are times that they're still out there engaging with us. We're catching up and that sort of stuff. And the adults, yeah, you may glance at your phone, or if they're trying to remember a headline or something, oh yeah, they say, well, you may hear the sirens in the background say, I wonder if CMR, I wonder if Sandra got anything. But that's about it. That's about it. We still have managed to, whenever we are together as a family, put down those phones unless you're using it to play some music, if the music isn't on in the background otherwise, or they're sharing something with us that is a conversation. But I must say, I applaud my family that when we do have those moments together, that we're really just sitting, talking foolishness, Una playing dominoes, playing Ludi or bingo or something like that. And we're just enjoying and eating or talking about the food or talking about something or fishing. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Andrew. When I think back of all of the events, we really do that FaceTime in this family. We do that. But how much still do that? Holidays of hearts fast approaching, long weekends, we actually still do it. I often visit my aunt, and since she figured out social media, now she'll sometimes be scrolling, but there are times that her phone is just there and we're just talking like what I'm accustomed to. Or we'll be there scrolling and I'll bring something up or I'll share something funny with her. But I must say, sharing that tidbit with you, my family has managed to hold on that when we do get together, even the young children the younger ones are occupied outside, but they're still engaging, running around and that. And these are young adults. These are teenagers. Some have just gotten back their results, just to give you the age. So some will even join in and play some of the board games with us, or just talk with us, and we just have a good time. So I would say I'm still blessed. I'm still very blessed to have a family like that. Cameron is saying, this is Cayman. I know. We don't want our next generation becoming so submissive. Activism, right, as a question. And 𝗪𝗵𝗲 is weighing in today and saying, I don't take my phone to the toilet. I see people doing that. Well, 𝗪𝗵𝗲, I gotta share a little joke with you. Funny, you must be reading my mind. The other day, remember whenever anybody was, TMI. Remember back in the day, you would say, give a newspaper. You got a newspaper? Going to the restroom. You know, that's going to be a little while, right? Or they would pick up a magazine or something. And it was quite common in a lot of powder rooms that you would find a magazine rack or a newspaper or something like that. All we have done, 𝗪𝗵𝗲, is exchanged the newspaper and the magazine now. And the phone now has become one of the things. Some people have reported, no shame in my game, you're there, you don't even realize how long you've been sitting there until your legs go numb. And when you get up, right, you feel the circulation, it feels like ants or stuff is, yeah. So 𝗪𝗵𝗲, I think this now, for you not taking it to the toilet for a number of reasons, and if you're a germaphobe or you're really into those sort of stuff, this is why they say that some phones are nasty, because we take them all over the place, we rest them. But yeah, that's a very good practice. And this is why sanitizing, and I digress a little bit because of this bathroom conversation, that it's good for you to sanitize your phones, because if you're taking them into the bathroom, you're putting that up to your head, you got it on the dining room table, you got it on the counter. Ooh, can you imagine? Yeah. So I just think, 𝗪𝗵𝗲, that the phones now, because of what you can get access to, has just replaced newspapers and magazine, which is why they're ending up in the bathrooms. 𝗪𝗵𝗲 is way again saying, I support it because meaning the phones banned in school. I support it because this texting abbreviation suppresses grammar and punctuation skills, and poor vocabulary bugs me. Young people need to work. Oh, young people need to work on their word skills. They speak like they text. You are quite right. And some of them, I have seen some of the younger people, instead, like we would do a joke or something, and instead of them laughing out like a real nice laugh, they'd say LOL, laugh out loud. And they're actually happy. They're sharing in with the joke, but LOL, laugh out loud. But yet they're not laughing. Yeah, weird. So even limiting your expression because that's now being abbreviated is another, what a mess we are in. Let me tell you something. What a mess we're in. Miss Pat Chisholm 5543 says, not many. I'm sure, which is a shame, meaning the Sunday traditions. Yeah, Miss Pat, I'm quite sure a lot of them are not doing it. A lot. And that has been diluted, but it's something that we're used to. I can remember that as a child, but thank you for your comment on that. Andrew says, so many homes have these big, hey, oh Lord. Let me go. So many homes have these big dinner tables and big dining rooms with chandeliers, etc., that are not being used. Chinaware in these fancy cabinets, and then they die. Message from this personal interaction with family and friends is what living is all about. Time is promised to no man. Andrew, I don't own a china cabinet. Nope. I use everything. When I tell you, and I gone very local, everything. I do not worship a thing. You hear what I tell you? Because, like you say, we got die and leave it. Raising up with my grandmother, there was a special china set that she had. And I think I got a teacup set out of it. My aunt gave me a teacup set out of it because I raised up seeing this. But that was tradition back then, right? And I'm 52? And I learned the story behind that because when my grandmother found that beautiful set away, she fell down. I just learned this the other day. She fell down trying to get this plate set. Wherever it was they were away, they had seen this. And the set is the same age of me. So she was like, well, we don't use these things. And, whoever wants pieces out of this set can have them. For me, I just took a cup and saucer. But the story behind that was amazing. And I can remember as a child growing up, there was this big china cabinet. Remember the fruit punch, the bowl? What do you call it? The bowl that you'd had the punch in it with the cups all hanging around it, and you had the ladle to pick up. What do you call that? The punch bowl? Anyhow, even one of those I raised up seeing had. And you could count how much times I can recall that set being used. Bless their souls. They're now gone. And here we are. My aunt still protects them, but now allowing us pieces of it. Now, I cherish it because they don't make stuff like that anymore. And it has a lot of sentimental value to me. But unless I explain that to my children and my cousins understand the story and they explain it to their children, maybe they will not have the same attachment to it because they didn't raise up seeing these things. Punch bowl, yes. Thanks, Andrew. And all of these things now doesn't matter. Unless you go to a 5-star restaurant, that sort of stuff, and you have these, remember when they had Waterford and Wedgwood store? Oh yeah, beautiful pieces. I bought the sets only because I love the patterns. But then when I realized that certain of them, you couldn't even put in the microwave because yes, I use my stuff. Sarah's Garden is a beautiful pattern that I loved. And 𝗪𝗡 had some glasses that were, did we remember when he died? They were getting, I wouldn't say they were selling them out, but they were quite affordable. The best orange juice, I tell you right now, can be drunk out of a Waterford and Wedgwood crystal. And they were economical. But you would come and you would be around me and you would be drinking out of 𝗪𝗡 and Waterford and you would never know. Why? Because I don't worship them. I don't worship them. I use them. And when I give you it, it's not going to be, you know what you're drinking out of? No, because I want you to be comfortable. But then what's the sense of having them and not use them? Makes no sense, right? But yeah, if we don't have that conversation in my immediate family, those kids are not going to be able to understand it. And I have seen so much of that. I think things and times have changed now. You're not getting a lot of people who are, when they're getting married, go to register now for these place settings and all of this sort of stuff. Back in the day, it was huge. If you wasn't registered at Kirk Freeport, oh boy, you wasn't saying anything. And then you're like, when are you going to use them? Christmas? Yeah. Now, collector's item, if you manage to keep the boxes and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's good to have. But at the end of the day, we have gone, again, and it just shows how things and times have changed. You would expect certain cutlery and that sort of stuff at a 5-star dining. How much people really can afford that now? Even with weddings nowadays, it's more relaxed. It's just certain things you don't do. People are doing more destination weddings or more intimate settings and have a nice, a ceremony that is more intimate, smaller in number. Look at the bridal parties. How much weddings you really see right nowadays with 6, 8 bridesmaids and groomsmen. Everything has just been cut back, and it's the same thing. It is the same thing we're seeing in our homes. Traditions and what really matters have changed. It's just a different time that we're living in. And now we're fighting with a digital age, going back to these bans and putting in certain things within our schools that, oh my God, class of 1990 was the furthest thing away from the teachers' minds back in our days when I was in high school. And I can see it, where things and the rules have had to get sharper, even when I then had my own children and they were going through the schools, where things and times have changed, and it's happening so quickly, yet so subtly, that you're not even realizing until announcements and policies like these are then introduced. And then you reminisce and you look back, and it forces you to pause and says, oh my God, at what point did we get here? When did it get away? At what point was it okay for pants, where uniforms are concerned, to be worn below your waist? At what point is it that your uniform skirts were way above your knees, almost like you're wearing a netball skirt instead of a uniform skirt? At what point did we get where, it is more glitz and glam than your hair just nicely groomed and without all of these things that you would only find in adults? Yeah, a lot of these things are distracting, and there's a time and a place for everything. It's not that you're holding them back. Maybe there may be some who has a strength in beautician, in the arts, and that sort of stuff, then fine. But there still has to be some rules, some things implemented into the school that maintains a level of decorum that don't make you go into an area where it becomes a case where, for example, how could I have a primary school child telling me I want a high-end lunch kit? Or, some of the popular brands that I only want this type of water bottle, or that this school bag, I am all for durability. But when has it gotten to the point that it's definitely a branding, right? And a primary school child telling you, this is what I want. And this is why back in the day, when we used to go to school, sneakers, color the shoes, and that sort of stuff, you may not have liked it, but it was less drama over material things, and we focused on the reason why we were in school more than who got this, who got that, and all that sort of stuff. Who's wearing the Nike? Who's wearing kangaroo? I not even know the Converse. You get where I'm going with this? How we got here. And yeah, it's really a different time. My heart goes out to the parents. A lot of it stems from the parents. A lot of it and stems with even the teachers trying to enforce these new policies as well. So it's going to take a community effort, both the parents and the teachers and everyone, guardians as well, to make sure that we try to get back to what our school and classrooms were or are intended to be, instead of this almost a fashion statement that creates loan problems. Andrew says, give me a conch stew, turtle dinner, or steamed fish cook on my grandmother's caboose wood fire, or a ceramic plate and plastic glass, red aid drink, and I'm fine. Our traditional cultures has changed, that we have adapted other people's culture. You're quite right. You're quite right. Again, I was speaking about breadfruit, and I said I always put in breadfruit in the oven, but the best roasted breadfruit is those that is done outside on a wood fire, because I love the smokiness in it. And this is why I love when you go to Jamaica and you taste that food, but you can get it done here as well. Some people still do it outside. Yeah, things in time have changed, but I don't value things like that anymore. To me, I don't care. But I'm not going to worship them. If we have them, we use them. But to me, a plate is a plate, a glass is a glass, a fork is a fork. It doesn't matter to me one bit. Barbara G, I have always had a special china set, but it was used every weekend for my kids. Good for you. I always told them that they would always be the most special people to ever sit at our table. Believe it or not, they never broke a piece. Good for you, Miss Barbara. Again, the days when Waterford and Wedgeville was in the swing, if they're still not in the swing, they had these sets called Peter Rabbit. My two kids were constantly get the little sets, the Peter Rabbit sets, with the bowl and the spoon and the fork and the little plate and all of that sort of stuff, right? My kids was eating out of those just because, yes, and some of them are signatured and stuff by the makers who would come down from Wedgwood, but I would still make my children use them. And you're quite right. I think in moving, one piece broke and I had to go and get it replaced. But to this date, that one was never, ever signatured by the representatives. But I would still, me, myself, use them. Oh, yeah. Eat out of a little bowl. Mm-hmm. And they never broke them. I could have given my two sons glasses to drink out of, and it was like nothing. So interesting. Good for you, Miss Barbara. I tell you, I'm from the old school. Andrew is saying, our children are not being taught about the old culture of cooking and the way of life so they can appreciate who we are as Caymanian people. And this is why I said, unless I pass that down, unless my other cousins, tell it to their children, yeah, it's going to be lost. And this is by extension throughout our island. And this is why I applaud the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture, and Heritage for what they're trying to do on a national scale, because more and more of this is needed. When we only see of these things during, let's say, Heritage Week festivities, Pirates Week now is coming up, and we're going to be seeing a lot of people out. It's more like a season instead of who we are. And it should be spoken about and be proud of all the time. But yeah, each household has their own history, has their own stories, has their own traditions as well. And if we're just bombarded in our phones to reminisce, have stories and all that sort of stuff, these things will be lost forever. And then somebody else then comes, create that narrative, and we would have lost who we are. So yeah, the phone lines are wide open. 936-8255 is the number to call, or WhatsApp. Feel free to join in the conversation. Now, as I digress from that topic, I want to look more and take a look, if you will allow me, in regards to a conversation that came up this morning. I heard on the Cold Hard Truth. 𝗪𝗵𝗲 saying what? They lucky name brand. They better brand them timetables and adverbs. Well, you know what? Despite all of that, 𝗪𝗵𝗲, they did very well. I am so proud of them. They did very well. They're grown adults now. So I'm talking about these like as though they're still going to school. They're grown men now. Two 𝗪𝗵𝗲. And it didn't stop them from bringing home the grades, because I didn't ease up on them. I was very active. I participated. I was very, very involved in their schools, PTAs, and that sort of stuff. And to tell you that I didn't have trying times with them, I'd be lying. But I never eased up. Extracurricular activities, extra classes where they needed, and at the end of the day, wherever I identified those weaknesses, I was able to give them the extra classes. And at the end of the day, they both came out with high passes, and everybody passed math and English to compulsory subjects between an A and a B. And they have gone up. I think I've shared the story here with you guys, how I invested in both of them because math were their weakest subjects. And at the end of the day, when they got their finals, they both came out, either one got an A and one got a B at the end of the day, and that's coming from a D. And they always struggled with math, but that is from primary school and straight through high school. I never stopped. Extra classes on Saturdays during the week, multiple different places, and hello, they were able to master it. So, yeah, Miss Barbara is saying, if someone wants me to advertise their name on my on my butt, they've got to pay me, not the other way around. God dug it. Okay. Oh, you got a sense of humor, Miss Barbara, but I can't wrong you there, my love. Can't wrong you there. OMG. But yeah, please allow me to go into this little segment. I don't know if we'll be able to cover it all today, but what I want to talk about is the get your opinion on this, because I heard it this morning. It is 6:27, so we got half hour. Maybe we can cover a good chunk of it. I looked into it a little deeper. And what I'm talking about is two recent cases. One where a man was living here, and we did an entire show on that one, for 15 years. And then the latest one was where a woman left the Cayman Islands on the exact day her work permit expired, despite having an upcoming trial. And what that did is that unearthed something deeper that we brought about when we spoke about the 15-year man that was found overstaying. No corruption, no conspiracy. But again, it further highlights operational weaknesses, obvious communication gaps, and systemic failures that continues to affect us all. So at the end of the day, let's go back and come to current. We reported on this. Sandra did a huge article on it. I did an entire episode on it. With the Jamaican national, this Lawrence Hall, who had overstayed from October 2011 to July the 21st, earlier this year, right? This year. It was discovered in his discovery that he lived, worked, drove, ate, slept, and functioned amongst us here for 15 years without detection. Okay. What we noticed in that particular case is that Chief Magistrate openly questioned how he was able to support himself, how he was able to move around, and how he even remained invisible in the system. Now, where we are is that a pre-sentence report was ordered to understand exactly his specific circumstances. What this proves about the operational arm, and please, this is not pointing the fingers again, this is just pointing out the obvious. For a matter of civic education and awareness, let's go back over it again. CBC's monitoring system did not detect a 15-year overstayer for whatever reason, okay? Interagencies data sharing appears limited or inconsistent. We look at administrative borders, not physical borders, administrative, obviously has some gaps that are wide enough for someone to remain unnoticed. And here we have it now for 15 years. We see where the operational arm workflows, civil service workflows, may not be designed for long-term tracking, of expired permissions, right? And then we also noticed in this particular case, no unified national ID systems that flags at this time expired immigration status across agencies. Now let's look at it from a community standpoint. If someone can live here for 15 years without detection, what does that say about the system? Not about any one officer, not about any one department, but about the architecture, the structure of how we manage people, information, data, and compliance. Okay? Then we look at the most recent case. Listen to this one, if you missed it this morning. A Jamaican national was charged with criminal trespass and common assault. And she was informed that her trial date was on June 18 of 2026. Now, her work permit expired June 20th, 2026, and she left on the same date. What is being reported is that she did not return for her August 20th, 2026 summary court hearing, and CBC confirmed that she had departed the jurisdiction. What we're seeing in this case is that the chief magistrate indicated or incited an arrest warrant would be issued, and a separate fail to surrender charge was dismissed because no warrant had been active on August 3rd. Now, WORC's work permit expiry system in itself does not automatically cross-check with court bail conditions from what we're finding. CBC's departure controls, obviously, did not flag that she was on bail. Obvious. Court communication systems did not trigger a do not depart alert unless they may have felt that she did not pose a flight risk. And for that matter, travel documents were not held. I stand to be corrected. Obviously, they were not withheld if she departed, right? We're seeing interagencies coordination between WORC, CBC, and the judicial administration is not seamless. And timing gaps as well, because 2 days between notice of trial and permit expiry obviously creates a loophole, right? Yeah. She didn't escape, my friends, from what is in the public's domain, what's being reported. She didn't escape. She didn't run through bushes. She didn't walk through the airport, under an assumed identity at this stage. She went through there, checked in, boarded a flight, and left. Because the systems didn't talk to itself. Or maybe they weren't flagged because maybe she wasn't considered a flight risk. So there's a lot of what ifs and other questions to come about here, right? And context matters. Tash Bodden is saying, but if she was in bail, then RCIP's courts should have held her passport. How did she leave? Well, based on the thing, obviously she had her documents and she was not probably considered a flight risk. Hence, she was able to leave, obviously on her travel documents, unless something else we're not aware of. But according to the system, she's departed without anything being known. Tash Bodden also comments, all foreign nationals who are charged have their passports held unless they can show just cause, bracketed, and post monetary bail by Caymanian surety. Then they are allowed to travel during a specific period. You're quite right. Andrew saying, question, is if her permit expired and she had this court case coming, would immigration give her extension to remain here until then? All excellent questions. But the thing is, I'm quite sure at some point, the judiciary would have been aware of her immigration status, that she was not a status holder, permanent resident holder, and that she was here, not free of immigration control, which means at some point there would be an expiry date somewhere, right? Where was the communication breakdown? I mean, we're not talking about someone who has been caught, not that we're diluting the cause of the arrest or the charges, for evasion of custom duties. And I stick a pin right there. When I heard of this, one particular incident came to mind. Very prominent Caymanian, born, bred, business owner, here is home, was alleged, formally charged for evasion of customs duty. While the investigation was going on, now they're home, travel documents taken from the Caymanian national because they posed a flight risk for an investigation into evasion of customs duty. The difference between the two here is a number of things. This lady, a Jamaican national, on a work permit, charged with criminal trespass and common assault, obviously still had their travel documents and were free to leave. Our own native, nowhere else to go, multiple properties, multiple businesses, charged for evasion of custom duties, had their travel documents taken for approximately 3 to 4 months until the investigation, which was handled administratively, was concluded and ended. They were not able to travel because their travel documents was held. So it begs to question, where is the problem? Where is the systemic weakness? Yeah, there's some serious systemic weakness and operational gaps that is on display here. And when you look at the delays, here's some statistics. 91% of government minutes responding to auditors' general recommendations were late, averaging 18 months late. 249 recommendations to date remains outstanding across multiple agencies. What this is showing, my friends, is that there is slow institutional response cycles in general. 91% of government minutes responding to Auditor General's recommendations were late, and that is averaging 18 months late. Another thing, the court system delays and administrative chaos. Chronic delays in criminal cases, missing charge sheets, incomplete disclosures, and defendants held for extended period. The DPP Crown Counsels publicly stated that police delays in preparing files are also causing systemic court backlogs. This, my friends, this shows operational strain and workflow breakdowns. There's another thing that is also highlighted. Judicial administration's own backlog. We have heard the cries from the judiciary. What is found out is that only 23% of summary court efficiency recommendations were implemented over 3 years. Only 23% of summary court efficiency recommendations implemented over 3 years. This, my friends, shows structural issues, not individual failures. And there's also the civic education side of things, of really understanding how the system should work. Tash Barton is commenting and saying, I don't know if there is a communication breakdown. And I would say that because all foreign nationals have their passport held once they've been arrested. Whether or not she posed a flight risk, quote unquote, is inconsequential. Foreign nationals are supposed to have their passports held once they are charged. No breakdown of communication. Someone, somewhere, failed to secure her documents, which is required for all foreign nationals. Thank you for that. Or maybe it was a case where it was held and it was given back. I don't know. We really don't know. Hence, context matters. And I'm only weighing in on what is in the public's domain. And right now, from all accounts and purposes, the woman is not here. She's left. The lady is gone. Yes, Tash says, there is a systemic delays in the courts. That's all of the court's fault, though that's not all the court's fault, though attorneys also caused the delays. And this is why at the beginning, Tash, I said, I'm not pointing out any, but thank you for the information. I'm not pointing out at anything. We're just looking at it in its totality. Because when one system fails, our entire system fails. I'm not here to bash any government agency. And anyone who is familiar with this platform, no, I'm only here to highlight and put focus and spotlight on what is the obvious, where the issues can be improved, and how it looks bad on all of us. And when the gatekeepers don't gatekeep, we all feel it. This is not tearing down anyone because as far as I'm concerned, there are multiple government agencies that just needs to be talking better. Accountability kept coming up again this morning. Who is being held accountable? Yeah. Who's responsible for what? Who's talking to who? And at what point are we going to say, look, this needs to stop because internationally, this doesn't look good. National security, border security, it doesn't look good. Yeah. So we're not bashing the judiciary, CBC, WRC, data input clerks. No, we're having the national conversation that needs to be had. And there's obvious with these statistics from the Auditor General, hold on, some persons are not doing their job, plain and simple. And because of that, we're having these continued issues. Yeah. Accountability, identifying the gaps, closing them, becoming aware of it, and just trying to correct it is all we need. Not taking things personal. No, we will get nowhere if you're thinking, oh, we're just coming at the CBC. Oh, we're just coming at WRC. Oh, we're coming at the judiciary. Oh, we're coming at the legal teams. Look, everybody needs to do what they got to do because right now, we're not looking too good when it comes to accountability. We got laws, we got policies, but if the gatekeepers aren't gatekeeping, if the gatekeepers are not being held accountable for doing their job, guess what? All those laws are a bunch of joke. And this is where people then come and they will start to laugh at us. They will start to laugh at us because it's right there. We got the laws and the loopholes are there. And because either things are mishandled, there's poor communication, there's just this lack, no accountability, then guess what? We're end up forking out more money. Stuff like this is happening, waste of the judiciary's time, and all we're doing is pointing the finger instead of looking and trying to close the gaps and improve so that nothing like this happens or is repeated. I was once a civil servant, and I'm going to be very honest with you. When the team that we had those days back in enforcement, we just were on our game. We knew our laws. We had to put together our case files. We would have to go to court. We would have to go and get our summons. We would have to do all of this sort of stuff. What has happened? And that's a question. What has happened? Less resources, less staff. But yeah, it appeared as though we were more in touch with the laws. It's like communication, despite it being less, I guess, digital, but somewhere or the other, we got stuff done. And these things, not telling you that it didn't happen, but wasn't so blatant and prevalent. What has happened? We were responsible. Gary Wong didn't ease up on us. Mr. Connor did not ease up on us. Oh, no, he did not. Mr. Manderson either. Mr. Jerry Maguire didn't ease up on us either. This is how far back I go. And we were happy when we apprehended offenders. We could do those case files, go down to Tower, deal with, I think his name is Duncan Nickel. To help us. And we aligned those charges, make sure it aligned with the law. And we took those cases to court. We got our fines. We came back. We had that whiteboard and we were there tallying up how much we scored for the government. We took pride in what we did. What has happened? That this is becoming like, it's the circus. It's a joke. With all of the funding, with all of the resources and assets, what is happening? I don't know. And yes, I have to speak on these things because it hurts the likes of me, the likes of Dawn, the likes of Anne, because we were there. And we would pick up things on the processing of work permits, temporaries. We could see stuff a mile away with less technology. what has happened. We respected our role. We had people in the police. We had people in the courts. We had people all over. We spoke to one another. Legal counsel for the government. We could pick up the phone and call them. Look, we just did this bust. We just did this raid. Yada, yada, yada. I've just finished all the interviews. I've done the arrest. I've read them. I've checked them into holding, RCIPs. We got to get it. We got to do a quick turnaround. We were able to link the laws. Is it because we knew the law? We were, as officers, we were trained to know the law. So when you prepared a case file, you knew it, and you only need the legal counsel to go over your case file, which we saw things turning around like this back in the day. Where have we gone wrong? Tash is weighing in. What has happened is the question mark. Thank you, Tash. I come in. The amount of staff has remained the same, yet the population has grown exponentially. That is the unfortunate consequence of population growth without the civil service growing in tandem. Tash, well then, my sweet, how can we make sure that even systems are funded to not necessarily work harder, but smarter? You understand where I'm going? I'm not telling you that, yeah, that's true. Same thing with WORC, same thing with CBC. But how hard is it to get systems to streamline certain things in to not make it be so stressful? Just wondering. I just throwing that out there. I hear you. And you know what, Tash? That's the same thing was being said my days of dawn, my days of being in there. We kept saying it, our population is growing. We're still using the same manual systems. We're still printing off manual letters, making ID cards. Miss Joan Forbes, Miss Joan Campbell, she was there all hours of the night, printing and laminating. Yeah, but yet the numbers continue to grow. Nothing has changed, but yet we're funding it. Tash, something not making no sense. Squid Bank says, Miss Sabrina, where did the gentleman work that over? I don't know. I gotta be honest with you. I never got that, Squid, to be honest with you. I didn't know. I don't know. I'm just bringing that back for context when I brought it up. But we're still waiting on the whole case file. So I guess that will be revealed when the magistrate gets this report to see how he was able to support himself through in here. Andrew is saying the Titanic was classed an unsinkable, and the output person failed to inform the captain that there was an iceberg that they collided in and then they sunk. The lesson from this? Accountability is serious. Titanic lost thousands of lives. Tash said, they can be streamlined, but they actually need people to do the work. Both CBC and WORC enforcement are severely understaffed, but the amount of the population right now, okay, understood. Trust me, Tash, if there's one person that understands what you guys are possibly going through, be it from the judiciary, WORC, CBC, I can tell you is me, because Dawn and I were there. I could call her name too. Mary Hydes was there. Anne was there. And I know at point in time, they are listening to this. You can't tell us what we don't already know. We know it. And that was back then. We can only imagine what you guys are going through. 18 years now since I don't know what it is to be a civil servant working in there. Why are we still having this conversation in 2026? Gosh. That's where the core of this conversation is coming from. Yeah. Even though it's been separated now, WORC and CBC are separated, you all have your independent responsibilities. Yeah. WORC issues work permits, tracks expiry dates, should notify CBC or their communication skills when a work permit holder is on bail or under investigation. Should a flight, there be a red flag, something should be signaling. In one of the comments I saw today as well, I think somebody responded to Sandra saying that 𝗪𝗪𝗔 has access to the immigration system, maybe just at a very high-ranking level. But like I said, there's a lot more context from this particular case that is still not aware of, or we're not aware of, why certain things was not in the system, why certain things, or like I said, maybe this lady was not presented as a flight risk. Tash is saying a foreign expat document should be held. Well, obviously this one wasn't, unless there's something missing from the report. When you look at CBC's responsibility, Customs and Border Control, they manage entry and exits. They should have received alerts from 𝗪𝗪𝗀 and the courts. They're the ones there to prevent departures when bail conditions prohibit leaving. But if it was never communicated, we can't beat up the exit officers. We can't beat up the system. If there was nothing in the system, or is it because now you're leaving and you're not being checked as you leave? Sometimes people leave and these manifests are checked after the flight is airborne, maybe, if there was something in the system. Like I said, I don't know. But again, accountability is key. And we can't forget the job of the judiciary. They issue bail conditions. What was the terms and condition on this bail condition? Were they properly communicated? Was there anything in the bail conditions that would have signaled 𝗪𝗪𝗀 and CBC that should there have been a flag, it would have been inputted in the system? Should communications, be restricted to CBC should be communicated in real time? And then who would be the point of contact? Would there be multiple persons just in case somebody is sick, somebody's on leave? This is key. Do they go straight then to the airport? There are a lot of things that it shows there's gaps. Now, what if it was done from the judiciary arm? But for some reason, it wasn't done in a timely manner because of the free flowing of people that probably the person was already airborne on a flight and it was too late. I don't know. But this could be the problem as well. Remember, once upon a time, when you departed, there were exiting immigration officers. Upon departure, you stop, they would pull up your name in the system, you would be departed. If there are any notices, whatever, it could have been nabbed in real time and you got your passport stamp. And then back in those days, you then went through security. Yeah? And to the waiting hall. That now has been removed. And it's all done behind the scenes. The airline prints off the manifest, and that process is done behind the scenes for ease of flow through our terminal. Now, what if the ball was dropped there and then after the fact? And the flight was already gone. And this came up. I don't know. Andrew is saying, Sabrina, back then work permit holders were not 40,000 and you and your colleagues were overwhelmed. So I can only imagine how difficult it was to monitor the system with all the challenges now. Yes, which is why, Tatash, I feel the pain. I feel it. I feel the pain. There was one particular overstayer, I think, that I'll never forget. Magistrate, I want to get her name, please. I'm not being disrespectful. Magistrate 𝗵𝗲𝗀, or Chief Justice 𝗵𝗲𝗀, had just come to the islands. And boy, me and my colleague, my partner, we were so glad, boy, we caught this overstayer who had overstayed, I think, for about 5 years. Now, we planned a particular raid, got a hit, went out wee hours in the morning, nabbed the gentleman, got back to the office, did the interview, prepared the case file, wasted no time though, Oh, no, you don't. Went to court that same Was it the same day or the next day? Anyhow, held him in custody. Whatever the case may be, it was in short order. I'll never forget it, to show you how things and times have changed. My partner and I, we got the blessings then. I think 𝗪𝗏 was still in charge with us. We took it down, got our ruling. We had enough evidence to prove the overstaying the system, yada, yada, yada. We had all of that. Well, when we went to court, it was held in Constitutional Hall. I could remember the gentleman, the overstayer, myself, to show you how things in time have changed. We presented the case ourselves. Proud as Peacock's boy that we had nabbed this overstayer. We're so proud. Yes, yes, yes. Well, Miss Ramsey, in her own little voice, handed down her judgment, found the gentleman guilty, ordered him to go on the next flight. He was going to be PNG in the system, yada, yada, instead of filling up time. Just got him out on the next flight, if my memory serves me well. You see, after she finished, she then turns it on us as the officers. Now, explain to me how you officers could allow someone to stay in this country for, let's say 5 years. 5 years. Oh, hey, you see, for that moment that we were so proud that we had nabbed this person, obviously they had been in the system before my time because I was recently added to the enforcement section. I felt like I had failed this country. She praised us, and then she asked the relevant question: how, an island this small, how could someone stay here for 5 years undetected? And let me tell you, in her own little way, we got scolded in the most diplomatic way. As proud as we were, and this goes to show the officers that we are to this day, I felt like I had failed, but yet I knew I did something right. Yes. We were then questioned in the courts how we could have allowed somebody to overstay. But she had just come. She had just come to the islands. And I will never forget, you see, any other cases that we ever caught, and I had to go in the front of her as officer, I was prepared. I made sure my statement of facts, I had my evidence. Man, let me tell you, I was prepared. But there was always the possibility when you got in the front of Miss Ramsey, she would turn it round on the gatekeepers for not gatekeeping. And this is why you will always hear me ask, from a place of good, when and why have our gatekeepers ceased gatekeeping? Those were the days. And yeah, things and times have changed. But we made sure we beefed up ourselves. We got the evidence. We made sure our statement of facts were impeccable. We knew the law. Our timelines was adhered to. We didn't romp because we felt we owed it to this country in the execution of our duties. What has happened? Tash weighs in. Royal Cayman Islands Police Service and the courts can impose bail conditions. The manifest is checked before the flight leaves, usually even before the flight is boarded. Once there is a stop block notice, persons can be checked in, but they cannot board as the system flags them, and CBC, 𝗪𝗪C called them for a check, and their luggage is pulled off the flight if it has been loaded onto the plane already. So thank God that still continues. Tash, what I love about this, tells me if this person is left, that they had their travel documents in their system on their person, and there was nothing in the system. So Tash, thank you for confirming that. Barbara G is weighing in and says, if it was discovered after she left, she would have been picked up on the other end of the flight. Well, she was already home, so we don't know. Again, timing. Context matters. More information is needed. Andrew is saying, gee, Sabrina, you and 𝗪𝗏𝗃 were having to be up early morning to extract. Oh, God, you know how much 3 a.m. mornings? Oh, man, that's when we did our best work. Weeks on top weeks, we would do these. And 3 a.m. on the road. And that's being where we were supposed to be at 3 a.m., meaning we were already on the road. Yeah. And those shifts, Andrew, would go till all 1, 2 o'clock in the day, and we were there. Many times we would do those cases, we would throw them through the system, still go to court, yada, 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 bang, on that last flight out sometimes, or the next day, 7 a.m. Yeah. So 𝗪𝗏𝗃, that he would come in at 9, but he would be awake because he would have his radio. Those were good days, though, I must say, Andrew. I don't think we could duplicate those days. It was just different, to be honest with you. Now that I speak about it, to tell you that I miss it, no, but I'm just happy with the relationships that we had during those days. It was just totally different, I think. 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗀 is saying, why is the government not launching an immigration amnesty for overstayers? Good question. You asked that, I think, when we spoke about the 15-year man. We need one now, is what 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗀 is saying. They used to do it back in the day, meaning, the thing. Yeah, maybe. Well, who to tell? Who to tell? Because we're hearing more and more of that an amnesty is needed for persons to just leave, hoping that will take a dip in the departure of a lot of those. But right now, we still are not aware as to how much people are outright overstaying at this time in the system. And I guess in time, that will make its head. Tash Bodden is saying, why our gatekeepers have stopped caring is a question. We have some persons who don't have the national pride you had. Tash, my heart just sunk there with that. Unfortunately, we have fantastic officers, but they tend to be outnumbered by the officers who are here only for the paycheck, not because they truly care. It's unfortunate, but the reality. Tash, I love you. Thank you. Thank you for commenting. But you don't know, that actually gave me the goosies. Because you really hit it on the head. And this is why I will never get on here and I will just paint everybody with the same brush. Tash, I mean that. I've never done it. And this is why, for those who know me, will know when I speak about it, I'm not coming after anybody, because that was once me. When I speak with passion, care. Dawn is here. She's listening. She's agreeing. I remember this 16-hour shifts and the air ambulance flight. Me and 𝗪𝗏𝗃, yes, it was an honor. Dawn was coming from all the way Lower Valley to do air ambulance, and we did it with a smile. Between 𝗪𝗏𝗃, 1, 2 I came out on, but yeah, it was more the seniors. Those were the days, let me tell you. Those were the days. But this, when you read this, why our gatekeepers have stopped caring? We have some persons who don't have the national pride you had. It was just a pride to wear that uniform and to show up. Be it the polo shirt, because I was in enforcement, or that gray skirt, those white tops, those epaulets, those crisp things, your stockings and your nice shoes. There was just pride when you were on that booth. Yeah, welcoming or bidding them goodbye, hoping we see them again. Wow. Tash, thank you so much for contributing today. Donnie and everybody who has. But yes, we have gone over by 8 minutes, and that should tell you how I'm still connected, still attached, and can still understand why situations like this will happen. But we can't find ourselves in 2026 still talking about this, somewhat 20 years, if not longer. And the amount of funding that is going into this, that means then, Tash, if what you said here, it's unfortunately the reality that some are only there for the paycheck and not because they truly care. Well, Tash, That means HR needs to do a better job with screening. That's what that's telling me, because I'm quite sure they're out there. That speaks volumes, Tash, because people are out here who are willing to do the job, who would care. But it tells me something has changed. Andrew says, thank you for your service, Sabrina and Dawn and the crew back then. Congrats. Oh, thank you, Andrew. Yes. We had a strong crew. Kudos to Patrick McField, even Gina Lewis. I think Gina is still there today. But the road runner was 𝗪𝗪𝗘𝗀, Patrick McField, Linares, Anthony, Tony, Joey Scott, Jeremy Scott, who's now the director, Marcus, Alexander, back in the day, the old crew. Then we had, that was pretty much your road crew. That was there. But the blue van with the chicken wire fence for the glass. There we go. So things have changed, but the love and passion remains the same. Then we had Donnie on the airport, Clea, Dalmeen Reed back in the day, Jacka Whitaker still there, Oriane Peralta. Oh my gosh, Miss 𝗪𝗪𝗘 and all of them. These were at the booths. Wow. Yeah. There we have it. Anyhow, there goes back down memory lane of when immigration and customs, well, we were separated those days, but we were still together. But today it's very obvious now they're separated. But it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. Our whole immigration system, border control, and even the judiciary system, I just want to thank you all for what you do. But maybe, as Tash alluded to, if we can stop looking at the paycheck and just take a little bit of pride into what we do more, and that hunger, that greed, to understand your job, to really understand your job, will make you then look at the role that you play. I think if a lot of them had a true understanding and where they fit into national security, border security, the importance of their role in just saying, I'm an immigration officer, I'm a CBC officer, but look at that, widen the lens a little bit more to see the role that they play in the broader scheme of things when it comes to national security. It's protecting our borders, doing your job with pride, having a sense of responsibility that, it really rocks you to your core. When you don't plant that into these officers, then they're really just showing up for the title and the job. But if they can't equate where they fit into the grander scheme of national pride, knowing the role that they play in national security, of course they're going to be oblivious. And not to tell you that they're not trained in the law, but really, how often are refreshers being done with even those on the booths, those in enforcement, that they should know those sections of the law like that. How often is that done? I don't know. I have no clue. But at the end of the day, not all is lost, but I really feel we need to look at this a little clearer. Because all these cases just shows us that the world has changed, our islands has changed, continue to change, but our systems, as Tash is alluding to, and people, either by choice or otherwise, have not caught up or kept up. Yeah, we haven't. Tash, they need to understand they are protecting our country for us and the generations to come. They need to understand that. Yes. And to me, some rigorous, more robust training on the national level needs to be done in these training so you can pick up, you can identify who's really in it for the passion versus who's in it just because they want a job and they hear that the overtime is good, that sort of stuff. But they understand, Tash, exactly the role that they play and the importance it is even in the future. It has been my pleasure bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks. I managed, yes, to cover both, even though we didn't go so deep into the second one, but it also sparked the conversation. Tash, thank you. Please don't be a stranger to the platform. And like I said, I want to thank everyone for their service. Thank you, Andrew, for highlighting us and thanking us. And I'm quite sure Don and everybody else who would listen, either at some point in time of the past, the old school, will appreciate that gratitude. But yeah, that has never left us. That has never left us at all. So when you hear me come out on immigration, it's not picking. I don't have no time for no picking. I was once an immigration officer. Don was. Anne worked administratively. This isn't coming after no one. This is speaking from having worked there. And it still is near and dear to me. Near and dear to me. And having been in a ministerial role and seeing it from a different perspective, having been as a immigration consultant and seeing it as well, I can see it from multiple angles. But what has not strayed is understanding that role and where any role in CBC and WORC has its place in the bigger national part and the role that you play. So from a receptionist to the receiving clerk, to the officers, to the back-end finance team, trust me, you all play a vital role in the grander national scheme of things. And don't you underestimate your role in the grander scheme of things. And Tash said it well. They need to understand that they are protecting our country for us and generations to come. They need to understand that. I couldn't end it better. Thank you so much. Until tomorrow, God bless. Love you lots. Take care. Good night.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.